So bare bones. We're going to cover off the bare basics of what to do in sharpening, and then from there we can go into all the different things and all the different tools and all the wonderful things that you can get from ZT Sports or any other retailer that happens to show up at your skating club. Anyway, in a kit, you're basically going to see 3 items. You're going to see a jig in 3 pieces, a stone and a burr stone, and a rag of some sort. Probably the most important thing that you want to think about is the setup of the jig. Most jigs will have a screw or a stone in the back here, and you're going to slide that in and do that. If it does not have a screw, what you may want to do is make sure that it's flush, so that the back of your jig is always set up that way and all the time. Then you're going to put your front piece in, and you'll notice that there is some play in the jig, so when you actually set it up on the table, you want to make sure that it's good and firm, and then at that point you're going to tighten it down, and now you've got a very stable jig. Skates, you all get a pair of these, or rent them or buy them. This is how you skate, this is how they will sharpen. You will always keep right and left the same each time. Keep right and left. I'll make sure that the blades flush against the backstop. All decent jigs will have a backstop. So the heels will always go to the back. Once they are to the back, I will adjust the front so that I'm grabbing the blades at just the tip and the tip of the blade. I'll firm it up, and then it's stable. There's 2 things you can do at this point. One, you can pull the skate up and lock it in, or a lot of people, when they're just new at sharpening, they'll drop it flat down and feel comfortable that way. That's resting either way. Either way is correct. When I pull it up, I am assuming that the blade is a true and matched set. I like to pull it up because I like to have more room, more blade to work with, but you may leave it down for comfort's sake. Okay? Once it's in, this is extremely solid. When you set the jig up, you want to set it up on a table or somewhere where you can actually reach it. Try not to kneel over it because you don't want to be putting any extra weight on that stone. If you do have to sit, put it between your legs and make sure that you can get in close enough to your belly. Every stone, this is a dry stone that we put in the kits. It's made by Foss. It has a coarse side and a fine side, so one for your coarse and a fine for polish. And you're going to simply utilize it this way. You absolutely put no weight whatsoever on the stone. The stone is heavy enough and it will do its work. And as you're sharpening, you're going to find that you want to get some even strokes in all directions. Usually what we're teaching now is that you want to use the whole part of the stone and that you're bringing it back and forth. You're going to be doing some backwards and forward strokes, but here you can see that I'm cutting the full 8 inches or the 12 inches of that stone. And it will simply become a rhythm. When you first start, you're going to be extremely slow. You're going to be like this and very deliberate. You know what? There's no difference in that method and this method other than 2.5 minutes. Okay? You want to make sure that you go to the back and the front of the skate each time. So, you're using your course and you're doing multiple strokes. How many? It depends on how dull your skates are. And you're going to start feeling for a little bit of a burr building up. If you want to envision what a burr is, think of a fingernail or a edge hanging off the edge, and you can very soon start to feel that through. We encourage you that after you've sharpened for about a bit, turn it around and work on the other side. Because even though I say I'm putting absolutely no pressure on this stone, I'm right arm dominant or left arm dominant, and you will do that. The reason I suggest that you flip it over is it ensures that you're doing the same to both sides of the skates over time. Just a little bit over time will make a lot of difference in the way of sharpening. Okay, after you've done the course and you feel that you have a burr throughout the whole skate, I would encourage you at that point to to remove the burr using the burr stone in the jig. The reason that we teach you now to remove that burr before you do your polish is if you have too large a burr, if you get too much of that overhang coming off, it's very hard to shear it. It tends to rip and tear. And if you leave part of that burr on there, when your skater goes out on the ice, it's going to feel like a dress shoe. It's going to say, I don't have an edge. You know, you didn't sharpen these. No, probably the burr that you get sheared off of. And you'll see there's many different types of burr stones. This is just a good little workhorse, and that's why we include it in the jig. And I recommend that you just apply pressure and pull it across in this fashion, and you can feel it. You're going to find it's a very touch and feel thing. I do hundreds of skates in a week, so I don't mind running my fingers up and down. I don't bleed too often. And I'll do the same to the other side. Just removing that burr, and you can feel it catching and pulling. One, make sure it's off. And I would do the same to the other blade as well. Then I'm going to do the polish. Think of coarse as when you're sandpapering, if you're doing a wall, you use the coarse first, you next see those grits and lines. If you actually look at this skate right now, you can see those grooves and the cuts from this. And what I want to do is I want to make this a smooth razor blade surface. And that's why I'll start using the polishing side. When you're polishing, you're going to use more backwards and forward strokes because I don't want to do that aggressive cut anymore. And I'll do more back and forth. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to start working my way through the stone. And just gradually getting towards the end, pulling it back, going forward, and that. And as you can see, I'm simply putting no pressure whatsoever on this stone. A good stone will do the work. You do not want to put any, if I'm putting pressure on, I will start taking the rocker off and then put too much on one. One of these things could slip down and then I'm doing all sorts of, it just opens you up to doing a number of things that you don't want to have happen. Same thing again, once you've done part way through or what you feel is part way through, when you start feeling that burr coming again, then I turn it around and do the same. And there again, for those of you who want to see, I'm basically just working my way through the stone. And I'll go back and forth. That way, at least if I'm doing any cross cuts in the blade, the direction that we're going to be skating. And you can actually hear it in time when you start to get all those coarse things removed. It becomes very quiet. And you can sort of hear that it's no longer, okay, it's very smooth. And if you actually have a light over your head, you can actually start to see your reflection in the skate. Once I've got a beautiful polish on here and I can feel that there's a bit of a burr all the way through, I'm going to take the skate out of the jig, and that's when I'm going to do the final burr removal. I recommend that you put it somewhere solid. If you're not comfortable putting it here, you can put it on a tabletop and work that way. But I tend to like to work here because I can hold it. And then I'm going to take and remove that burr. And there again, you see I'm using a solid cutting motion. And that's to remove the burr. I'll feel that it's basically gone. I'll flip the skate over because there's two edges to that. And same thing again. I will pull. And there you go, my burr's gone. And you can see that I've already, in very few strokes, done sharpening. One of the biggest problems that we do, or we find with new parents, is that they sharpen too much. That you get too large a burr, and that you take too much blade off the skate. It's wonderful for the retailers, but it's not necessary. If you're sharpening once a week, and your kid only weighs 80 pounds, you know what? The odds are you really only need to do a polish and remove that burr. And that's the secret and the key. You're going to see people going across the blade, and they're going to be going like this. When they're doing that, they've already removed the burr, and at that point they are polishing what they call polishing the blade. And that's just to make sure that any pockets, anything here is removed. Keep in mind when a skater is actually at this angle, you know, 3/4 of the blade is actually in the ice. And that's why you'll see people buying, you know, a ceramic stone to actually do the polishing on the side. This is 8,000 microns. As I say, there's endless the amount of stuff that you can buy, need, use, we'll see that's available for sale, and everything will depend on how you like to sharpen. But in all honesty, your bare bones basic kit that Tom provides you has everything that you need for the first hour kid out on the ice. And that is your Reader's Digest version of working with a pacer kit and sharpening